What's going on, everybody? This is Jarrett. Welcome to another episode of the Fans View Podcast. It's been a little while, actually, since I've done one of these. I'm still trying to really get my feet under me, trying to figure out, what's right, what's wrong, what works, what doesn't. And this podcasting thing is not easy. So I'm still trying to play with the format. Do I record an intro for the podcast, but not the YouTube? Do I record an intro for both? Do I not record an intro for either? These are all things you don't think about when you're like, I'm going to start a podcast. These are not the things that go through your head. But let's see. Since the last time I've recorded an intro, man, things have really picked up as far as my guest getting ability. When I started out, just to give you guys a little peek behind the curtain, when I started out, I said this is not going to be a wrestling podcast per se, because I didn't want to pigeonhole myself into just one genre. And it's still not a wrestling podcast, per se. But it would be difficult to argue the fact that in a pinch, I definitely skew towards wrestling. As far as getting a guest or content or whatnot. So that's the reason. When you look at the catalog so far of the Fans View, there's a lot of wrestling. Now, granted, there's a lot of, NASCAR mixed in. We now have 2 past guests have been since signed by the UFC, that being Torres Finney and Malcolm Wellmaker, which so proud of those guys and so exciting to be on that journey with them from the beginning. So that's super cool. But yeah, like I said, I don't want to pigeonhole myself into being a wrestling podcast per se, but yeah, this is the Fans View. It's stuff that I'm a fan of that I hope you guys will enjoy as well. Like, I'm a fan of professional wrestling. I'm a fan of MMA. I'm a fan of comedy, of NASCAR, of sports in general. That's why I'm trying to have like some sports reporters on here and some just media personalities. Those are hard avenues to break into with no following like I do. Like we're getting close to 200 subscribers on YouTube, which is excellent, and I appreciate every single person that takes the time to hit that subscribe button, watch a video, like a video. But we can't run from the fact, or I can't run from the fact. I say we like there's more than one person. Please understand that the Fans View Podcast is me. It's me behind the YouTube. It's me behind the podcast. It's me editing the podcast. It's me uploading the podcast. Same goes with the YouTube videos. It's me on the social media, which is not where it needs to be. But actually, exciting news today as I record this on Wednesday, December 11th. The Fans View now has an Instagram page at the Fans View Pod on Instagram. So if you guys would go shoot that a follow, I would certainly appreciate it. We are on Facebook at the Fans View Podcast. We're on TikTok at the Fans View. Obviously, wherever you're listening to this, we're on Apple Podcasts, we're on Spotify, we're on YouTube at the Fans View Podcast. So yeah, it's really right now it's a waiting game. It's putting out quality content that you guys want to hear, that you want to support. Yeah, that's really where it is. Obviously, I gotta send a shout out to Carlo Perusa MMA. He's been very helpful, especially with the mixed martial artists, the fighting guests thus far. I actually want to give a shout out to Stanley Carr, who has a wrestling podcast that I think is worth a listen as well, called Wrestling with Heart, that you should definitely check out. All these guys have been instrumental in the development so far of this podcast. OSCW Wrestling in Charleston is another one that has been very helpful. Venturini Motorsports, specifically Tom Venturini, has been just absolutely wonderful from the NASCAR perspective. Without help, I don't get this thing off the ground, which is a perfect segue into talking about today's guest on the podcast. I cannot say enough nice things about Sam Leterna. Again, it's December 11th as I record this, so about 2 weeks ago was WrestleCade, which is a big wrestling convention in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, the weekend after Thanksgiving. And that's the first time I had the opportunity to meet Sam. Her and I had actually corresponded, via email like a week or two before that, I'd reached out for an interview, made the request, and she was kind of just like, I'm not really taking interviews right now unless it's for like super big publications, which is understandable. I had no ill will. I wasn't, I thanked her for, taking the time to respond, which is not always something that everyone does, even when they decline. But I thanked her for responding and told her if anything changed in the future, please let me know, and I'd love to collaborate. And then she was actually doing a little hosting work actually for WrestleCade, the convention itself, and I stopped her for a photo, and I was there wearing my Fans View podcast polo shirt because I was there, to get interviews myself. And she actually recognized the name, the Fans View, and asked me, "Hey, didn't you reach out to me the other day?" I was like, "Yeah, I reached out and you politely declined." And that's, again, that's fine. And she could not have been more gracious. She was like, no. She's like, "I thought about that. I don't want to," basically paraphrasing, she didn't want to big time me and not have time for somebody just because I was a smaller growing podcast. She's like, everybody has to start somewhere. And Sam actually, that was during the day at WrestleCade, and she had her own things to do and I had my things to do. And she actually went out of her way to come back to the convention center just to do the interview that you're about to hear with me that evening. Guys, when I tell you, like, she didn't have to do that. She really did not have to do that. Like, she very easily could have said, "Oh, well, sorry, nice to meet you. Maybe we can do something in the future," and then never heard from her again. And not only was she gracious enough to come back to that convention center to do the interview with me, she was very generous with her time, with her thoughtful answers. She was very engaged. I literally, I could not ask for a better guest. She could not have been a nicer human being. And then the part that really meant the most to me was after we stopped recording, she was on a time crunch. She was there. She was going back downstairs to go watch some of her friends that were performing on the Super Show that evening. And she sat there probably longer. She probably sat there longer with me, just talking and giving me advice and a little bit of direction and just imparting any knowledge she could with me. She probably spent longer doing that than we did doing the actual interview, which was just, it's priceless. The knowledge someone of her caliber can bestow on someone like me, that I want it and I'm willing to grind, but being willing to grind is only half of it. You have to have an idea of what you're doing, if that makes sense. You can't just, kick down the door and be like, "Hey, I'm here to podcast." You need to foster relationships. You need people to vouch for you, which is something that she's demonstrated a willingness to do. You need help. You cannot do this on your own. And maybe you can, but yeah, I mean, she is an invaluable, and I dare say, friend now that I have made. And not just from a perspective of Sam can get me this person and get me that person, but just the kindness. You can't put a price tag on that. The kindness she showed by telling me, like, "Hey, this is how I would upload clips in preparation for an episode dropping. This is what I would do in this situation." Because you guys have to understand, before she was a commentator, for your favorite Northeast wrestling promotion, or she was a ring announcer for Impact or TNA Wrestling, she's a content creator. She was WrestleT. She is very tuned in to this avenue of content creation. So yeah, that's enough glazing of Sam Leterna. She is wonderful. Please, guys, give her all the support in the world. Follow her on Instagram at Sam Leterna. Follow her on X. Follow her wherever she goes. Support the show she's on. If she's at a meet and greet, pay the money. She is such a wonderful human being. I can't speak highly enough of her. So with all that said, I'm going to kick it to myself from WrestleCade in Winston-Salem. And I'm going to kick it over to me and Sam. I hope you guys enjoy the interview. Like I said, as of today, the Fans View Pod on Instagram, I would appreciate you guys shooting a follow over there at YouTube, the Fans View Podcast, and wherever you get your podcasts from. I appreciate it. Like, subscribe, comment, leave a review. You guys know the drill. If you're listening to this isn't your first podcast experience, so any and all support you guys would give me is free 99, and it would go such a long way. It would help me so immensely if you just took a couple minutes to do that for me, guys. And like I said, give Sam Leterna all the love in the world, because she's a beautiful human being and she deserves every bit of it. And with that, I'm going to be quiet. You guys enjoy this interview, and I will see you guys on the next episode of the Fans View Podcast.
If you haven't liked or subscribed, you're going to be joking me.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Fans View Podcast. As you can see, I am here at WrestleCade with the one and only former voice of TNA Impact Wrestling, one Sam Leterna. Sam, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing very well. We're here at WrestleCade weekend, and there's so much going on, and it's kind of like a mini family reunion for me. I get to see a bunch of people that live all over the country, all over the world, that I sometimes get to work with only once or twice, but they're people I love. So yes, I'm very excited to be here. A little tired, but here to support my friends who are wrestling shortly. So yeah.
So how was it last night with the TNA pay-per-view going on downstairs? Was it a little bit of FOMO already kicking in? Do you miss it yet?
Oh, like TNA specifically? Yeah. So I think everyone goes through that period where, if you get let go of any job or you choose to move on from any job, like whatever the case, like you're going to wonder if you made the right decision or, was it me? Was it them? There's all these questions, right? Because we tend to doubt ourselves a lot, and we should not do that. But first month I was definitely a little bit sad. But instead of like wanting to be in control, like I want to be in control of everything that I do. I'm very organized. This year I learned how to kind of like let that go, especially as it relates to wrestling. I like still work hard, still take action, but what's meant to be is meant to be, and the universe has done this for a reason. And I'm still so grateful that I get to support people in the TNA locker room that I call friends. Literally, two of my really good girlfriends, Masha and Jordan, had a match last night. And it doesn't matter if I work there or not, because at the end of the day, like, I get to see these two ladies absolutely kill each other. And, just knowing the friendship that exists between them, and then that we were able to build together at TNA, a friendship amongst the three of us and others, is really important. So takeaway is really good people at TNA. Absolutely. And it was nice to still be in the locker room and say hi to people, So that's good. And I'd absolutely go back to TNA one day if the opportunity arose.
Love it. So when would you say that you really caught the wrestling bug? Are you someone that came in late, or were you a lifelong fan?
I've been a fan since I was 7 years old.
Wow.
So I've been watching since 2002, I believe. I stumbled upon a random wrestling show that I had no idea what it was. None of my family, none of my friends watched wrestling, but my mom had this like illegal cable box thing. You remember those? The black ones?
The black box.
And one of them was the pay-per-view channel. And I was I remember because it like changed my life. I kept scrolling, found this random channel with wrestling on it. Turns out it was a free pay-per-view channel.
Wow.
And what was on was Lesnar versus Kurt Angle at King of the Ring when Lesnar won. And that was the first match that I ever saw full length of pro wrestling. And I was just hooked. And I don't think I knew it then, but clearly here we are. Yeah. And I'm still a fan, and I'm so blessed to work in the industry. So yeah, I love wrestling. I love old school wrestling. I love, the current era, the era I grew up on. It's all good.
So with 2002, wow, do we realize how close you were to accidentally seeing Katie Vick and just ending your wrestling career before it started?
Oh my gosh, yeah, it could have just.
That was right around that time, like October maybe.
Yeah, but there was so much good stuff happening at that time. Like obviously, the Attitude Era was gone, and there was like maybe a period of uncertainty. But then you had people like, Batista, Cena, Edge, even like people who get like lesser attention, like Jamie Noble. Yeah. Amazing. Billy Kidman, like those were two of my favorite cruiserweights. I love to hate Jamie and Nydia. I saw her at a convention.
The big event.
Yes, I saw her at the big event, and it was so weird because earlier that week I was like, yo, where the heck is Nydia at when I was in a carload? And I manifested meeting this lovely woman, and we were in the bathroom in the morning. I was like, are you Nydia? And she's like, yes. And I literally told her, I manifested you. It's so lovely to meet you. I loved you in my childhood. So yeah, crazy stuff.
That's amazing. So I've seen in my little bit of research that you you did have a brief wrestling career, like in ring.
Yes.
What
You did
happened?
your research. I respect
I did
that.
a little bit. I did a little bit. Is that something you're interested in pursuing again, or is that kind of in the rear view for you?
So it's definitely in the rear view. It's not like so much of a never say never thing, but I very much so feel like my level of execution in the ring, it's never been what like you see like the Mustafa Ali's, the Masha Slamovich's of the world do in the ring. So if I can't do that justice, then for me, and this is just my opinion, I'm doing a disservice to wrestling. So I found a spot that worked for me, and I never thought that it would, but I'm very grateful for the wrestling training that I did have. I trained under Johnny Rods, and then I trained under Lance Storm, and I learned so many good things from both of them about how to act in the business, how to be a good person, and just wrestling psychology, particularly from Lance, and that informs my commentary, that informs how I do interviews. Like I don't think people realize that like commentary and what goes on in a match are like basically the same flow.
Yes.
So you do need to have an understanding of what goes on. That's why, sometimes in the past with, I believe, WWE, when they've had, some people come in from outside of wrestling and just throw them into commentary, it's hit or miss because if you don't love this, I think passion or lack thereof shines through. And if you don't know wrestling, it's a whole lot to get involved in.
Awareness is a big portion of it that people just, and the self-awareness that it takes to understand, like, okay, maybe this isn't my avenue, but to know that there's other avenues, to explore.
Because that's that, right? You want to
exactly.
You want to be
the
wrestler,
best at what you're doing.
Yeah, everyone wants to be a wrestler, right?
Of course.
But then if you're really secure in what you do, I think there's a point where like I take so much pride in my broadcasting work, and like I truly, and I don't mean this with cockiness, I've just wanted to be undeniably great at what I do, and to have like some level of recognition now, it just makes me happy because I was just working so hard at it for so many years. Even before that with wrestling, my intention has always been to be in this industry.
I love that so much. Did you have, obviously you said you wanted to be a wrestler, but did you have a favorite maybe ring announcer growing up, a commentary team that you're partial to?
So I grew up on like JR and Jerry Lawler, but I'm a personal fan of Michael Cole just because I do think that he's just so seamless with everything he does. This man just never misses a beat. He's so good at his job that it's so underappreciated. And there's nothing he couldn't do. Like, I bet the man can ring announce too.
Oh, I'm sure he could.
And I mean, that's a testament to his whole career, like 30 years, I believe now, maybe more at WWE. But yeah, I also, in terms of TNA, I really enjoyed Mike Tenay when he was on commentary. I'm a huge fan of Tom Hannafin. He helped me tremendously when I was at TNA, and his mind for the business is amazing. He was trained directly by Michael Cole, so just to be like kind of a descendant of that knowledge is just super cool. But I love Alicia Taylor. She's my favorite announcer that I've drawn inspiration from. She's on SmackDown currently. But I loved Lillian Garcia when I was a kid just because there was something so likable about her. She had that energy. I think that one time she got hit with the ring bell and took a bump. Like I had so much respect for that. Like I would take a little bump if it was for the good of the match. And then just like lay out. But yeah, so those people. But yeah, Alicia Taylor is like my number one right now.
Okay, and see, you took the next question right out of my mouth. Who are you watching now?
Sorry.
So what would you consider to be the hardest part of your job that maybe people don't see because they do only get to see you when you're ring announcing briefly on camera, or they hear you on commentary? They maybe don't understand all the hard work that goes into those two jobs specifically.
Yeah, I'm sorry. As far as did you say commentary and ring announcing?
Either one. What's a challenge that maybe people don't?
So everything is different with ring announcing. I think the biggest challenge is, first off, like maybe doubting your voice, which at times I did. But in terms of just on a regular work day, if you're working in indie and let's say it's your first time there and you don't know all of the talent, sometimes you don't get the card the day of. Things aren't advertised necessarily. So it can be really hard to get like 40 people's names when everyone's running around. You don't know them. And sometimes people just want like really, really long stuff. And there are ones that I like that are super, super long, like Jackson Drake's at I work with him at Arrival. He's one of the recent ID guys. He has just such a long one. It's like weighing in at 180 natty, call me daddy, like all this. I'm like, oh, and it goes on and on and on, but it has this really good flow. So if it's cool, I like it. And then with commentary, you really it depends how you want to do things as a commentator, but being over prepared is like so important because you never know what's going to get thrown at you. Commentary, in my opinion, is the hardest and like the highest art of all of the broadcasting stuff within wrestling. Like if you can ace that, like I think just the respect level that you have from doing that is really important. But yeah, commentary can be difficult, but that's more on yourself to prepare and then to chat with the wrestlers, chat with the promoter, to know the plot. I don't want to say too much, but to know the plot and to understand the assignment. And then with interviews, I think people think interviews are really easy.
They're not.
They're not, as you know. And there's an art to it. There's an art to doing a live interview versus like a pre-taped interview. And a lot of the times on the indies and even at TV companies I have worked for, I've not really been produced or been given much input. Like the onus is really on you to produce yourself, write yourself. If you don't have a camera guy, you get a tripod, you get your equipment, as you know, and you have to make it happen yourself.
Right.
And sometimes that footage isn't always the most like cool angles and stuff like what you see on TV, but you got to make it work, right?
Yep.
And it's also like really hard to get respect when you're first getting into the business in any way, but as a broadcaster or a non-wrestler, you really do have to like make people trust you, right? Like when I started doing this in 2020 in the middle of the pandemic, I knew some people from like when I wrestled, which was great, but then there was a whole other group of people that had no idea who I was. Why are you at the Collective doing interviews for IWTV? This is random. Who's this girl? So there's that distrust, but then over time, now those people who were weary to give an interview want me to interview them. And it's not even like, oh, we need Sam to interview me, but it's just there's that respect. Like they know I am not going to make them look bad. Right. Like I don't ask questions that would make a wrestler feel stupid or like expose them, shall we say. Right. So yeah, it's just about giving that respect, having that respect, and also I think having respect for wrestling because that'll show in your work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we're going to bring this thing home for you because God knows.
Oh, my God, I just drooled.
You've got
kind of. Anyway, whatever.
You've got a million things going on this evening. This is the Fans View podcast, so I love to get to know performers, outside of the ring. What are you a fan of outside of the ring?
Ooh, I love reality TV. That's one of the darker sides of my personality. I love it all. But I guess something with more depth. Like recently I've become really into like health and wellness, like certain types of eating and stuff like that. And I've really leaned into like Pilates and yoga and just like overall wellness. Like I have a nice routine at home. I've gotten into taking like supplements and learning about like planting my own vegetables and stuff. I live in New York City, so I have a balcony, but it's like it's not
I was
ideal.
just about to say, aren't you a New York girl?
Yeah. It's a bigger balcony for New York, but like, what am I gonna grow on a balcony?
So it's 3 foot instead of 2 foot.
It's like a 4x12.
Ooh,
yes, it's a 4x12.
Bougie.
It's not bad. I have roommates though. Don't get it twisted. But yeah, I'm really into like I think I'm on a wellness journey right now, and I know that sounds kind of rah-rah hippie BS, but I feel like I'm in the best physical, mental, emotional shape of my life because I've made these changes in my diet, in my exercise, and so I'm just talking to anyone about it.
Very
and
cool.
All the wrestlers think I'm crazy.
I'm glad I could give you a platform. What would you consider, I'm going to get deep on you here.
Yes.
What would you consider, wrestling related or not, to be maybe the best piece of advice that you've received? Yeah.
Keep your eyes open, your eyes and ears open, and your mouth closed.
I like that one.
I won't say who said it, though.
She's so nice. Keep it shut. And finally, at this stage in your life and in your career, obviously you're going through a lot of changes.
Yeah.
What does the term success mean to you?
For me, success means knowing that you did your very best, but also having the respect of your peers. Just like to simplify it. But I think success on like a deeper level, especially for where I'm at right now, I've made this clear. Like recently I was on the Dave LaGreca show after Bully Ray, who was really rude to me at Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling. But anyway, Bully, if you're watching, bye. I'll deal with you later, sir. But yeah, like I'm putting it into the universe. I want to do this, with a TV contract. I want to sign my first TV contract. I was never under contract in MLW, NWA, or TNA. So I don't know what's next, but I hope it's something good, and I trust that the universe will provide whatever I deserve based on the work I put in.
Absolutely.
And will continue to put in. So, yeah, maybe it's a revolving door. Maybe it's a new opportunity. Yeah.
Beautifully put. So that's usually the last question I ask. But see, I'm a Jersey kid
Uh-oh.
that's transplanted to South Carolina.
That is random.
So trust me, I'm telling you, Tom's River right here. So I have 3 bonus questions for you, just real quick.
Yeah, let's do it.
Wawa or Sheetz?
Wawa. Used to be a Sheetz gal, though.
That's my girl. Come on, Wawa
Wawa's
for the
amazing.
win. There's no other answer. Hard roll or
Okay.
anything else?
What is a hard roll? I'm serious. Maybe I know what it is.
We're moving on. We're moving on.
Then I'm going to say anything else.
Jets or Giants?
Ooh, I don't watch football. Patriots.
Ooh.
When I choose Patriots.
Oh, my God. You're going to get kicked out of New York City.
Probably, but I'm a staunch Yankees fan. Don't mess with me.
Well, that's good. 'Cause I'm a Red Sox fan.
Uh-oh. I have a shirt that says I root for the Yankees and any team that
That
beats
plays
the Red
Boston.
Sox.
Yeah. Of course, naturally. Well, Sam, I just want to thank you so much for taking the time out.
Yes,
I
I'm glad
didn't
we were
think
able
we'd
to
be
do
able to
it.
do this, but
Yeah.
we were able to pull it together at the 11th hour.
I agree. Yeah, we met in person, and it was just
I
a
just- I
spontaneous
wooed her,
thing.
and it was just-
No, Jarrett was actually incredibly professional. You'd be surprised at some of the garbage that winds up in my DMs. Like, I expect people
God.
to contact me the way I contact people. You,
I
like,
wanna do a whole nother
professionally.
podcast and just talk about that.
You're lovely. You're a very good interviewer, and yeah, if you ever need any help getting interviews with people I know, you let me know.
Thank
okay?
you so much. And
Yeah,
where
no
can people
worries.
get a hold of you?
So you can, follow me on Insta and on X. Those are the 2 main things I'm on. I don't do Snapchat. Don't add me on Facebook if you know my real name. Like, it's cool, but I'm just not on there, and you're not going to see any cool stuff. I've hidden all of my high school photos. But anyway, yeah, so Sam Leterna on X and on Instagram. My last name is spelled Leterna, and just keep an eye out for whatever is next.
That's right. And until next time, guys, this has been Jarrett with the Fans View. And don't forget, call your mom.
If you haven't liked or subscribed, you're going to be joking me.